Bail reform is a movement that aims to make the system more equitable for those who cannot afford to pay their bonds and reduce the number of people held in jail pre-trial for low-level or non-violent offenses. Bail reform advocates argue that cash bail is unfair, ineffective and costly. They say that cash bail discriminates against poor and minority defendants, who are more likely to be detained before trial and face worse outcomes in court. They also say that cash bail does not ensure public safety or court appearance, as many defendants who are released on bail commit new crimes or fail to show up for court. Moreover, they say that cash bail imposes a heavy burden on taxpayers, who have to pay for the costs of jailing thousands of people who are presumed innocent. Bail reform has been implemented in various states and jurisdictions across the country, with different approaches and outcomes. Some of the common reforms include eliminating or limiting the use of cash bail for most misdemeanors and non-violent felonies, and instead releasing defendants on their own recognizance or under supervision. Providing judges with more discretion and guidance to consider the individual circumstances and risks of each defendant, rather than relying on fixed bail schedules or algorithms. Expanding the use of pretrial services and alternatives to detention, such as electronic monitoring, drug testing, counseling and diversion programs. Increasing the transparency and accountability of the bail system, by collecting and reporting data on bail decisions and outcomes, and providing defendants with legal representation and information about their rights. Bail reform supporters claim that these reforms can reduce crime without damaging peace and justice. They cite evidence from places like Washington, D.C., New Jersey and New Mexico, where bail reform has led to significant reductions in pretrial detention rates, without compromising public safety or court appearance rates. They also point to the potential benefits of bail reform for defendants and communities, such as improving their physical and mental health, preserving their jobs and family ties, and reducing racial disparities and mass incarceration. Bail reform opponents, however, challenge these claims and argue that bail reform is dangerous and irresponsible. They blame bail reform for the recent rise in violent crime in some cities, such as New York and Chicago, where they say that many defendants who are released without bail commit new crimes or harm victims and witnesses. They also question the validity and reliability of the data and studies that support bail reform, and accuse them of being biased or flawed. They argue that cash bail is necessary and effective to deter crime and ensure justice, as it holds defendants accountable for their actions and gives them an incentive to comply with the law. One of the common misconceptions about bail reform is that it allows people charged with violent crimes to walk free without paying bail. This is not true. Bail reform does not apply to people charged with violent crimes, who still have to pay bail or remain in custody until trial. Bail reform only affects people charged with misdemeanors or non-violent offenses, who are presumed innocent until proven guilty. These are people who pose no threat to public safety, but are often stuck in jail because they cannot afford to pay bail. This creates a system that punishes people for being poor, not for being dangerous. Bail reform aims to make the system more fair and humane, by allowing people to remain free while awaiting trial, unless they are deemed a flight risk or a danger to the community. This way, they can keep their jobs, their homes, and their families intact, and avoid the negative consequences of pretrial detention, such as losing custody of their children, contracting COVID-19, or pleading guilty to crimes they did not commit. Bail reform also saves taxpayers money, by reducing the costs of jailing people who do not need to be there. Studies have shown that bail reform does not increase crime rates or lower court appearance rates. In fact, some jurisdictions that have implemented bail reform have seen reductions in crime and improvements in public safety. Bail reform is not a radical idea. It is based on the constitutional principles of due process and equal protection under the law. It is also supported by a broad coalition of civil rights groups, criminal justice experts, faith leaders, and community organizations. Bail reform is essential to creating a more just and effective criminal justice system for everyone.